Hey, how's it going, guys? So, welcome to my first question and answers. Hopefully, this is something we could do long term, or it might die a short death. I probably need to say really controversial things to get people onto it, which no doubt, knowing me, I'll say something stupid or silly during the video. But I will try to keep as much to the point as I can, and then we can expand on them as we go along. Hopefully people will find these interesting because I'm very well schooled in traditional Chinese martial arts, traditional Chinese medicine. I've done that for a long time now, but I also spend almost every day in a MMA gym with professional athletes, professional fighters who are a lot higher level fighters than I am. So I have a very practical mind of things, and I like to kind of sift through the cultural rubbish and the mythical stuff to the realities of and the real aspects of martial arts. So some of these questions I will just say it in my own language and explain it for you guys that want a kind of a straightforward answer. So the first two questions I got interrelate, so they're very helpful for me today. So thanks, guys. That's Jeremy and James. I'm going to address your questions first. So let's start with James. James asked, how long did or does it usually take to condition your hands for impact? So the straight answer is not very long, to be honest with you. I would give the traditional 100 days, which is a good example. 100 days of starting to condition your hands every day, they'll be ready for impact. Traditionally in Chinese medicine, you would use some form of Dit Da Jiao medicine to rub onto the hands to condition them. To be honest with you, it's a big thing, and every school has their secret Dit Da Jiao, and you really should use them when you first start your hand conditioning because your hands just aren't used to that. But look, I've been doing hand conditioning. I actually first started when I was 14 or 15, if I remember. 14 now, and to be honest with you, I very rarely use the Da Jiao anymore on my hands because they're just so used to it. But the beginning of, you want to use medicine. There's many forms of hand conditioning. Usually you're going to use something like an iron palm bag, a makiwara striking post. The main thing is something that's a little bit of a give, and it's a bit of progressive overload. Your heel of your palms and your meaty parts of your hands are going to condition a lot easier than the bones. Okay, they're going to be a bit tender, and people with very sharp knuckles can take a little bit longer because it takes a bit of time, if you can see, for the hands to flatten down and harden out that way. Then your back of your hand does take a lot longer as well to condition the back of the hand. Biggest problem I think that takes the longest is your wrist strength. So unless you're somebody who's done a lot of wrist type exercises, guys that do manual labor, kind of, especially guys that are working on sites and mechanics and things like that, they tend to find it easier to condition the hands quicker because the hands are just robust from picking up and grabbing stuff. The skin is tougher, the bones are a bit tougher, the muscles in the hands are conditioned more. So we're looking at conditioning the knuckles, depending on each person. If they're a little bit flattened on the knuckles, it can be a bit easier. If they're sharp, they take a little bit longer. The heel of the palms, these areas here, doesn't take terribly long because they're a good striking area. The fingers, they take a lot longer to try to condition, to try to toughen up, because it's not so much the impact on them, it's the strength of them. And the wrist is the big problem. That usually takes longer for most people. So you find guys that can really put a lot of oomph into their punches and get a lot of weight behind it. They often have problems with their wrists. It's why boxers strap up their wrists, that they can't handle the wrist can't handle the force going through it. So not very long. Hopefully that's answered that. Jeremy, good question. Can you project chi in your strikes? So I'm presuming he's just asking in general, not me. So first of all, just in case, can I project chi in my strikes? No. Because when I say no, let me just further explain, and no one else can. I presume most people kind of refer to when you're projecting chi, their mystical idea of a magical energy going through the hands and going into the person. I'll state plainly, that's bullshit. Anyone says they can, you're welcome to come down to my club and do it. Now, can people hit with a certain type of shocking force that goes inside the body? Yes. Okay. So, and that's what we just call like a shock. Okay, so if someone puts a bulletproof vest on and you fire at them, their ribs, they can break their ribs, they can get winded. What's happened? The bullet hasn't gone through them, but there's a force, a shock wave that goes through the body. And I believe that traditionally that's what they were referring to when they're referring to chi, because chi, remember the character is really kind of like rice with the steam rising up. So it's like when the wind is blowing, I know the wind is blowing because the leaves are moving, okay, if I'm looking at it. So it's like the steam coming out from the rice. So it's like the result of the strike. If I hit you and there's a shock wave that moves through the body into you, the Chinese refer to that as qi gone into you. It's just an energy that's gone in, but it's not a magical force, okay? If you can take the average person, give them a hammer, and do the same thing, they can create the same type of force. So of course, the harder the hand is, the easier it is to create that type of force, okay? So we divide things up into 4 different types of forces. Focused force would be where I'm striking and I hit the target and then the force continues driving through, okay? So that would be like you having on a big strong jacket and someone fires a bow and arrow at you, but it stops here, but the force goes in, still hits in. Piercing force would be like, getting it here and driving it in, driving your fingers into them, okay? Pushing your fingers in, driving your thumb into the neck, okay? Like a piercing type force to hurt things underneath. A snap back force, or like a vibration, people snap or vibrate the punches, like a whipping type punch. And what it does is, or a snap back, it's if imagine you had a whip, hit a person, it hits them and snaps back, and it creates that force that kind of like goes in and out, okay? Like a snap back force. And then a smashing force. I grab a baseball bat and smash through. So they're different types of forces. In Chinese, they may refer to them as different types of qi, energy. It's refined. So that's no different when you go to watch boxers and stuff punch. Is he doing like a bouncing type jab, or is he doing a stiff arm jab? Okay, the Chinese just may refer to those as different types of qi, different types of forces, energy. So if we're referring to energy with regards to that way, then yes, it's a real energy that you hit. You stick something hard on, you get a hammer is a good idea, and then do I like hit it and stop it, or do I bounce it back? The person's going to feel slightly different to the person, but it's a real force. The person has to strike you, and it's real. If it's some magical energy type force that they're saying, it's nonsense. I've never seen it. People, certainly any of this crap where people are kind of no touch and just, doing all this rubbish. I have personally been struck on the arm and like it almost made me want to like pass out. But again, I'm sure if I put my arm out and somebody comes and smashes me with a hammer in a certain position where it's very vulnerable, I could probably almost pass out as well. So that's my answer, and that's my feeling on that. So projecting chi, with my intent in my mind, if I focus something and I focus on the force going through them, we could say, yeah, you're projecting your chi, but no more than a good focus strike from a boxer. Okay, when he strikes, he focuses on the strike, he strikes to the person. That's the same thing. But any mystical idea of mystical type force. So the idea of standing and doing different types of qigong and then saying that the energy that you've built up you can impart into somebody else. No, I've never come across it, and it's rubbish. And guys, if it was true, these guys would be doing it. People say, oh well, it's against martial code. Lads, some of the, like I've been to China, they're more money grabbing people than than I've met most people in the world. I'm telling you now, if they could impart chi like that, they would be in the UFC and they would be doing that and cashing in the millions. Okay, because I see these guys doing this chi projections, this, putting it into the people's bodies, and they're charging hundreds of euros for their students. So yeah, they do want to make a profit from it. So if they could really do that with such ease, they would be the people signing up into UFC and raking in a few millions from it. The reason they don't is because they can't. It's as simple as that. So I think that's an interesting question, and I believe that it's a misinterpretation of Qi, because do I believe in Qi? Certainly, I do Chinese medicine. Energy, there's force. If I rub my hands get warm. We could say that is Qi. Okay, there's energy. If I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't have a lot of energy today. I don't have a lot of Qi. If I'm like, I feel real robust, I feel great. Qi. If I do some movement exercises and I feel better, the energy's moving. It's Qi. Okay, but then people start to misinterpret that. So in my example, because of doing iron palm type training, I often say that people are welcome if they can accumulate Qi and energy through Qigong and different things, and they say that they can then impart that into a person. You're welcome to go and slap that brick and impart your Qi and break it into it. Okay, it can't be done. You're going to have to do hand conditioning and practice issuing a form of shocking force, which is a real force that anybody can do. Okay, once you just learn the methods of striking and the body mechanics, because the way you move your body allows you to create different types of forces. If I turn my waist one way, my arm comes out, I might create a force that drives straight forward. If I lift and drop my body and whip it back, I might create a wave type force that goes in. And it's very basic idea. People, if you play sports and do I throw a ball or do I spin it? They're all, the Chinese refer to as different types of Qi. So hopefully I've explained that in our everyday language. So guys, that is the first two questions, 12 minutes. Would have liked to have kept it shorter. I could go on all day about the people who talk about Qi in the wrong way in martial terms. It's something that we don't refer to too much in training, simply because people start to get idea of the mystical. There is no substitute for hard training, no substitute for impact training. You have to, there's always remember, with this refers to both of them, you need to train your body mechanics up so that you know how to do the strike. Then you need to learn to be able to hit the target. Okay, and then you need to learn how to try to get your force into the target. And whilst Chinese martial arts and traditional martial arts has unique terminology for it, it's no different than you go to Thai boxing, any of the arts. They're going to go through the same process. The guy's got to learn the movement. He's got to learn to strike a little bit. Then he's got to learn to try to get the force in. Okay, that's why you could have two people doing almost the identical movement in air, but when they land on you, they can feel very different. One guy can have very heavy hands that the force seems to really go into, and another one, it's nothing. One guy could hit you and it kind of like it snaps you back, and another one sinks you down. So the only way to do this type of thing is to strike stuff, and then to strike human beings, because the human being, the body, is also made up of different parts. How I strike something hard will be different to how I strike something soft. And these skills are not unique to traditional martial arts. You speak to high-level fighters, strikers, they know them. They may not have the terminology, but when we have a discussion, they'll be like, yeah, of course, I hit the body this way, and I turn them and I dig it up and I snap it back because it gets a better result in the floating rope. Oh yeah, this area here I smash through. The guys know it. Okay, if they're hitting people all the time and they're having to knock people out, and especially if they're pro fighters, they know this stuff. They might just not have the same type of terminology we do, but it's nothing unique. Guys, thank you very much. I hope I've come across okay for my first video. And guys, if you find my ideas and my thoughts different to yours, look, we all have different ideas and we all have different experiences. There are some things I'm adamant on, some things I'm always open to learning from. I don't mean to insult anyone at any time, but I can only base my experience off what I've experienced thus far. Thanks, guys.